Please welcome to the stage Tewodros Ashenafi, Chairman and CEO of Southwest Holdings, and Jennifer Comalie, Chairperson for the National Petroleum Corporation of Namibia, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Manus, Cranny.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you both. It's interesting, we were in the green room and we were just trying to find out when both Ethiopia and Namibia first had their moment of oil, their Damascene moment of oil. 1972 for Ethiopia with Tewodros, and 1974 for you, Jenny, in Namibia. We're at a critical moment in the world of existential crisis. We have a world at war, and we have a deep exposure to the world's energy needs exposed by the horrors of war. But that puts a particular spotlight on Africa, on Ethiopia, on Namibia, as perhaps an opportunity to move forward more quickly with your oil and gas exploration. To you, first of all, Jenny, you are running NAMCOR, you're the chairperson there. How much of a moment of accelerated activity for Namibia is this going to be?
Well, thank you, Manus, and thank you for having us here today. I think it couldn't have come at a better time, the oil discoveries. Early this year, we two successful wells, and especially the Venus one being a massive discovery. Really in the top 20 of global discoveries in the last decade. Now, of course, for Namibia, a small economy, this is massive, and it poses a massive opportunity for us to start playing a crucial role in the oil and gas industry. At the same time, the government is also positioning itself on the green hydrogen space. So really looking at these two opportunities and see how we can be in the forefront of it.
Well, we'll come back to the green hydrogen in just a moment. Tewodros, if I can bring it to you, if I look at, for you, you're in the top 10 acreage in East Africa. So the potential for Ethiopia, what's the distance between potential ambition and reality?
Yeah, thanks, Manus. It is true, the opportunities globally are pointing for sub-Saharan Africa to have investment in the oil and gas field. Since, let's say, 2012, exploration financing has essentially disappeared from frontier exploration like Namibia, Ethiopia. And you're seeing a lot of capital now looking back in this area. So we do feel that it's a good opportunity for the continent.
Well, let's just focus on capital for a moment, because, as you said, Tewodros, that this is not 2010, 2011, that period of time of huge capex. Some would say an irresponsible time of capex. I want to get a sense from both of you. Have you got people knocking on your doors? Have you got people wanting to talk to you more about capital? To you, first of all, Jenny.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say these two last discoveries have really opened up the Orange Basin, which is off the coast of Namibia, as a new frontier.
Right.
So we're looking at increased activity in exploration, and as we know, we talk about the energy transition, but we still understand that hydrocarbons, fossil fuels will still be playing a major role in providing that energy. So yes, the capital is there for these projects, but we also understand some of those dynamics are changing, and the capital is looking for more greener projects. So we're really trying to look at both sides of the coin. But as you said, we'll talk about the green hydrogen a bit later.
So the capital for you, Tewodros, I mean, just to give you some context in terms of the measurables, when Jenny was with me this morning, 4 million barrels in terms of potential. And for you, Tewodros, I know that you've got proven reserves in gas of 6 trillion yet to come and 2 billion in oil. But where are you finding access to capital? Who's knocking on your door that you find acceptable?
Well, I think the natural partners would be the Asians, of course. Yeah, so the Asians are looking at their energy security. But you're seeing also some Western companies also, showing a bit of more interest than they've done in the past. Ethiopia has 350,000 square kilometer basin, huge. It's gigantic. And as you said, gas was found in 1972 and has not been necessarily developed. But you're going to see, I think, we have a new minister and a new team that is pushing for these developments to take place. So I think you're going to see some movement.
Can I just push you in terms of who's knocking on your door for capital? When you say Asia, Asia is a very, very broad place. Is it the Chinese? Is it the Koreans?
I think the Chinese and the Koreans would be the right geographic description that are looking at Ethiopia and developing some of these assets along with us.
And just to round off on that, there is this narrative perhaps about access to capital from China comes with different conditions to that from the West. I mean, are you open to all China and all of Asia? Are you concerned in any way about doing
Well, I think, when you speak about narratives, Manus,
yes.
I have some great Norwegian friends, for example. And, Norway, if you recall from your history, in the 1950s was essentially, fishing and maybe some timber. And they found, oil in 1969. And now they are one of the richest,
They carry a bit of sway in the markets, let's say.
I would say,
yes.
and the oil fund, essentially is invested in every single listed company in the world. And my friends have said, well, Tewodros, you should think of renewables and not do the oil and gas investments. And my answer is, well, Norway has benefited from oil and gas and has become a very wealthy society and still benefiting from it. So, why shouldn't Namibia and Ethiopia also develop its oil and gas? I'm not saying climate change and climate is not an issue, but I think the narrative of the global South not developing its oil and gas is not necessarily the correct one. And then going back to the Chinese, I think there's also a narrative, and maybe some of that narrative could be accurate in some bad actors, but in general, I do believe that the Chinese net have been positive for the African continent, and that's reality.
You've mentioned that debate between what should you, as we're double down on, whether it's traditional fossil fuel or renewable. Let's build on the conversation with you, Jenny, in the renewable space. Green hydrogen, it's on every panel that I go to. Someday somebody's actually going to ask me the process for producing it in detail, and I might struggle. But talk me very briefly through the top level for Namibia. How do you balance it? What do you think it's going to be in terms of green hydrogen? When is it deliverable? Is it real? Will it work? Is it going to solve all our problems, or are we all just playing out a great media story here? What's the reality of green hydrogen?
Well, I think, like I said earlier, we're trying to really work on both fronts. And I think this huge opportunity with the oil discovery could potentially also, fund this green hydrogen journey of ours. But really what the strategy of our government is at this point in time is really to be at the forefront of that journey. There is a lot of capital available in Europe to look at these solutions. And of course, we want to be part of that. We've got global, conditions in terms of wind and solar. And when we did our feasibility studies, it pointed that we could deliver green hydrogen at the lowest cost in the world, comparable to Saudi Arabia and Chile. So we should be part of the solution, right? And if
do you think you're getting a fair crack at the capital whip? That's a very polite way of asking you something else. But do you think that out of COP, you're being, as the year has gone on, are you getting a fair crack at access to that capital?
Well, I think everybody in Namibia is definitely doing a very good job of putting us out there on the global arena as a possible destination in terms of piloting on these green hydrogen projects. Our president, the ministers, the advisors, they're all there, out there talking about the possibilities of Namibia being the solution. Now, the point I wanted to make earlier is really that we're looking to what has happened in the past, when these, offtake agreements have been signed and the infrastructure is built, it really locks in that relationship. So this time around, we really want to be there, when those conversations are had. So we've got a roadmap. We've got a clear roadmap how we want to move to green hydrogen in the 2030s. And starting off more, with products that's already been used all over the world, ammonia, green ammonia plants. So it's a journey for us. And then at the same time, trying to drive these pilot projects and looking at the solutions.
Tewodros, for you, to touch on the concept of the access to capital. When we caught up, you said, well, the green transition to a certain extent to you has elements of hypocrisy in it, and that it's time perhaps for a pushback from the global south.
Well, I think that Ethiopia is very unique in terms of, a lot of people don't know, in the 1950, Ethiopia went to help the South Koreans in the Korean War. And at that time, in 1950, the Koreans were poorer than the Ethiopians per capita basis. So we were helping the Koreans. Now, fast forward a few decades, and Korea, without any resources, well, except for human, capital, is now the 10th largest economy in the world. In Ethiopia, we have Abai River, otherwise known as the Nile. We have agriculture. We have oil and gas. We have gold, platinum, uranium, name it. And we should be highly developed economy, and I think we will go into that direction. So we are very fortunate that we have hydro power, we have wind potential, we have solar, and oil and gas potential as well.
Can you square away for our global audience here, because people will say, but there are security concerns. The great roadblock to you is security concerns. What would you say to the global audience briefly on those? Ethiopia is probably 5,000 years old, maybe more. And, we are in a very difficult strategic neighborhood. And, we haven't had more than, I would say, in those 5,000 years, more than 5 years of no conflict. So we've always had problems in that geography, and it's very hard to develop when you have conflict. Jenny, let's have the closing comment from you. Again, to the global audience, just a perspective from Namibia. What can you produce and when can you deliver it? Because it's the biggest issue on the global stage right now. Just a quick timeline.
So in terms of the oil and gas discoveries, we're looking at 2028. Normally it takes about 7 years for you really to get into production. But what our partners, JV partners, are doing is really accelerating the appraisal processes as well as the design processes, so that we can get the oil to market as soon as possible. So really, this being driven from our partners, Qatar Energy, Total, to get this to market. On the green hydrogen side, we're talking here about the ammonia in 2026, the first plant being up and running, and yes.
Well, certainly the price of fertilizer is literally roaring ahead. Thank you both for your time. Great to be in front of the audience. We've got more conversations to come. That is Tewodros Ashenafi, Chair of Southwest Holdings, and Jenny Comalie at Namcor.
Thank you.